G'day YouTubers. It's been a while since I got a video up on this channel. Life's been pretty busy and I have another channel that has been taking a lot of my time. But I did have need for a table for building fish, so I built that and I did a video of the build. It's not so much a welding video, it's just sort of a bit of a video on what you can do to use up materials that you got left over from other jobs. The table itself was made entirely from bits and pieces I had left over and cost me absolutely nothing. So let's get on with the show. There were no plans for the table, it was all eyeball engineering, and the only thing I did measure was the table top to set the frame to the right size for the piece of stainless steel that I had to use for the top. The only other thing I had to measure was the leg height because I like the table a little bit higher than normal. I'm tall and I don't like to have to bend down to work. So when I'm building a table, I generally build it just a little bit higher than the normal height. So with that being the only two measurements I had to worry about, the rest was just a matter of finding material that I could use for the job. The top of the frame and the legs were some RHS that I had left over from another job, which was in reality way too heavy walled for a table, but it was free, it was left over, so I used it. It was, I think, a 4 or 5 mil wall on the RHS, which is really heavy stuff, whereas 2 or 3 mil would have been fine for a table. All the little bits and pieces, like feet for the table, etc., came straight out of my scrap box. And I've got to say, having a horizontal bandsaw to cut all this up is just the bee's knees. Having to cut it by hand, even with a plasma cutter or something, then you've got to grind it all off to make it nice and neat. It's just a pain. So that's the frame of the table set up there on the welding table. I got to reinforce it some more. I'll explain why after I get this bit welded. It's all squared up, it's within 1 millimetre of being square. Now I've got to tack it so that it doesn't move and then go along and weld the corners up. A little tack on these to hold them in place. That should have them held there. The trick in welding is not to let it walk too much. Just let that fill for a minute, knock the slag off, and then tipping over. Tack the other side. And with all those tacks in place, that should hold it from warping too much, and I'll be able to just go along and weld it. Oh, it's going to be heavy table because this is a pretty heavy metal that I just had on hand. I'm not spending any money to do this, I'm just using what I had around. So, yeah, maybe a bit heavy, but it'll do. And just check that she's still reasonably square before I put any more tacks on. For good reason. Alright, same deal, tack this side. I should be able to just go along and weld these bottom bits now. Now I've got to do the outside corners and the inside corners. I'm just going to finish welding it up. There's nothing special to see. It's not a welding video as such, it's a construction video. Just setting up a couple of braces across the middle of it now. Clamp these down, make sure I get them dead level, because that's going to be fairly important when I come to put the top on. Okay, with that in the matters clamped together, I can go ahead and put some welds on them. Now the idea of clamping that down to the table, as I said, was to make sure that everything is dead level on the top. So I've made sure the welds aren't in the way by moving the slats on the table. So now I'll just go ahead and weld them. Alright, they're not going anywhere. So far so good. Now what I need to do is to fill this in more, because the stainless steel sheet I've got isn't really strong enough for a tabletop. So I need to make this area smaller by putting some pieces across it so that it doesn't buckle too much and I'll still be able to work on it, and hope that works out alright. If it doesn't, I might have to put a bit of ply or something under it. But I'd like to avoid that if I could, because being out in the weather, the ply is not going to last very long. This means I have to replace it from time to time, which I don't want to do. So, next thing to do is to find or cut some pieces to go in between those so that I can fill that in a little bit and make it a bit more stable. Alright, I'm just going to grind the welds down on the top of the table because they have to be dead level. Clamped the edges down to the table so that these are going to sit nice and even, and just make sure they're pretty much straight. There we go. That's near enough. Now I'll get a bit of weld on these. That's that. I'll weld them in a little bit better than that, but they're well and truly tacked now. I'll put the rest in off camera because it's all just pretty much the same. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it in the video, but this piece of leftover stainless steel that I've got has a bit of a kick up here. It's only about an inch, 25 millimeters. But it's going the wrong way. If it was going down I could work with it, but it's going up, so I'm going to cut it off because I don't have the equipment to bend it the other way, and it probably wouldn't work real well anyway. So I'm going to cut this off, but I'm ambitious enough to think that I've got a fair chance of bending the rest down over the front. So I'm just going to cut it off on the bend for the moment. If I can't get that bent down, then obviously I'm going to have to cut back to the edge of the metal. You don't want a sharp bit of stainless steel hanging out. We'll see how we go with it. If I get lucky, I will be able to bend that. Now the next step is to see if I can bend it. Then I'll know what I've got to do beyond that. If I can't bend it, I've got to change patterns. Okay, well unfortunately that didn't work out because I'd let it overhang here thinking I was going to cut more off, and then I looked at it and I thought, oh, there'll be enough there to bend down. But now that I've cut that kickback off and moved the whole thing back to the back of the frame, I don't have enough there to bend down. So I'm going to have to do another cut and take it maybe 5 or 6 mils, quarter of an inch inside the frame, and then that'll save any of the sharp stainless steel being sticking out to rip someone's leg. Not sure how I'm going to go from there, but I'll work something out. That's a shame, but never mind, that's the way it is. Now I've cut these feet here, that's out of 8mm steel, and they're these rectangular, strange rectangular shapes because that was the length that I had. I just cut it into 4 even pieces for the feet. I'm using the 8mm steel because it's going to be sitting out on the ground. It will rust over time, and the 8mm steel should last probably 10-20 years before it rusts through. That'll be more than enough time for me. Got one clamped up here and just about to weld it on. I'll weld the 4 feet on and then I'll weld the legs in, and then I'll put some springers in to hold some shelving. I don't know what I might want to put on shelves yet, but it's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. I think I'm going to leave that fourth side open, just in case there's any moisture gets in there. It'll have a way of getting out. There'll be condensation and stuff, I guess. Shouldn't get much in there, but I think it's probably better to leave it away out and just seal it in there. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Leave that one. And that's it, that's welding one on. I'm going to do the other 3 off camera, and we'll come back and put a leg onto the table. Now I'm welding this leg on here. I'm going to use the square to make sure it's straight up and down rather than level it, because I'm not sure if the table itself is still absolutely level. It was when I set it up, but for what I'm wanting this time, the square will be good enough. This one leans in that way a fair bit, so I'm going to weld it on this back corner, just a good big tack so that I can bend it and get it straight, and then I'll go around and weld it. I'll just do this one on camera, the rest will be much the same. Now, a fair bend I've got to give it, so hopefully it's not going to break. And I will turn this back down a little bit on the amperage, because we're working a little bit thin material now. Okay, if I can get that tack there without it moving, that will be near enough. Just a small tack there to hold it, or I check it, so that I can cut that easily if I need to. That's perfect. That's good. I can go ahead and weld that. Give it a tack on the other corners, and before I weld it I'll put the rest on and frame up the shelving supports. That will give it some stability. I'll go around and do all 4 legs like that. I'll do the rest off camera and we'll come back to the next stage. I've got the frame all together now. There's nothing special about welding it, it's just a bit awkward getting around. Again, everything's been cut from scrap that I had laying around. Just welded it all around. These things will level across so I can fit some shelving in there if I want to. Now I've just got to go and finish knocking off some of the rust so I can paint it up before I put the top on. I've got to put some welds on the top side of this SHS so the water doesn't get down into them. And still like there to be some condensation, but at least no water will be sitting in it. I'll do that off camera. Well, that's the table, upside down, finished, painted. There's nothing to the welding. As you see, I didn't even worry about levelling the ends to these side pieces. I just welded them on wherever. They are level across, so that I can put shelving in on the front to back if I want to. I think there's enough bars across on the tabletop to support the thin stainless steel that I'm using. So now that it's painted, just got to wait for it to dry and then glue the stainless steel to the top of it with some sticker flex. That should also help to avoid any buckling that it's going to do while I'm working on it. And then somehow I'm going to have to get it up to put it beside the house where I'm going to use it. I'll have to get one of the boys to help me with that because it's too heavy to move by myself. There you go, that is my fish filleting table. And it cost me exactly nothing, apart from a little bit of electricity to run the welder, because every other piece of material I had already. It had been sitting around for pretty much years. The stainless steel had been sitting around for certainly 15 years. And I finally found a use for it. I knew I'd use it. The other pieces had all been sitting around for 4 or 5 years. So, yep, used it all up and have myself a nice filleting table now. And there it is in position. Needed to get one of the boys over to help me carry it because of the heavy material I made it out of, but it's all in position, all finished and ready to be tried out now. The only other thing I'm going to do is to put some shelving in underneath so I can put tubs or anything I want to in under there. Other than that, all good to go. Okay, it's not much for a take home, but this is christening the table, so got to video it, show that the table's been christened. Oh, this is so much easier. Getting it out here. A nice high table. That's it. I can just fill them up now. That'll do for the christening of it. Yeah, I'll fill it in there.
I meant to put the rubbish bag in there, so
Yeah.
you can put that in there.
That's a good thought, yes.
Oh yeah, I'll bring it out. So
Yep.
I'll put this away.
Yep. Oh yes, I probably should have a board for so that I don't hit the knife when I'm doing multiple fish. I didn't worry about it for this, but yes, cutting board. Should maybe get a bigger cutting board.
Yeah, I got a big one.
No. Sort of the ones like we used to use in the boating room that would sort of cover half the table.
Oh, where do you get them?
Yeah, good question. Master Butcher's gone out of business, so I don't know. Alright, well, we got some... Oh, let's get rid of that. And that's it. Up against the house, all the messes outside. Nice high table for me to work on. And stainless steel, when I'm finished, just give it a hose off and it's all clean. And best of all, didn't cost me anything except a little bit of electricity and a few welding rods. Not my usual project, but I hope to get a few more of my projects up on video this year. Until next time.